Right. Alrighty, folks, thank you for joining. As you are joining, you should see an option for which language you would want to listen in on. We will be offering tonight's program in both English and Spanish. Chef, if you want to.
Al unirse al chat, pueden elegir si quieren escuchar en español o en inglés, lo cual haría que todos entiendan de una manera más fácil.
Give one more second just for any other folks to join. Perfect. All righty. All right. And for my folks who are here, if you could just let us know if you can hear us okay, or if you are hearing the real-time translation. You should have access to the Q&A feature, so you can just throw a thumbs up or that you can hear us in there, just so that you know that you can hear us. Let's see, something popped up. Someone said we both sound clear. So I think we're good to go. All righty. Well, fantastic. Thank you everyone for joining tonight. We'll probably have some more people trickling in. If you've tuned into any of these before, you may know who I am. My name is Max Goldstein. I am a chef and a registered dietitian here at the Yale New Haven Health Teaching Kitchen. Very excited to have a special guest chef tonight. You notice I'm in the gray jacket, he's in the white jacket. He's the professional. I just sort of do this for fun. Chef, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. So I'm Ricardo Saturno. I'm an executive chef for Flick Independent Dining Schools. I currently lead the culinary program at Greenwich Academy. And thank you for having me, Max.
Yeah, of course.
We're here to share a couple recipes to honor Latin American Heritage Month and just talk a little bit about colon cancer health. And
absolutely. Right, because I think colon cancer can feel like a very scary topic for a lot of people to discuss. And, we know that rates of colon cancer are rising, especially among young people. And then specifically, it is, based off the data that I've seen, it seems to be underdiagnosed when it comes to our Hispanic population. And so it kind of felt like a natural thing. While we're talking about, this health condition, why not marry it with something that everyone understands, right? Which is food. We can really bring a lot of exciting flavors. And so the goal for tonight is not only to, inform you about, your things like risk for colon cancer. We'll have Anne Monju and Michelle Hughes, who are our amazing organizers. They will hop on later to give a little bit more shout out about that information. But we're here to talk about delicious food, encourage you and your loved ones to get screened, right? To decrease or to help catch things early. Preventative healthcare is the best way to be, and a great way to approach preventative healthcare is to eat delicious and healthy food. So we have a lot of beautiful food laid out in front of us. Chef, do you want to tell us a little bit about some of the ingredients that we're going to be using today?
Sure. So, well, as we know, colon cancer is directly linked to most of our behavioral and lifestyle choices. Mm-hmm. We're all very busy. We're always on the run. We're always on the go. So one of the things we try to feature today was that we'll be able to use a lot of fresh ingredients to make a couple different dishes. We're going to make actually 3 dishes today.
Perfect.
And what we try to do with this is to show you that you can transform this simple ingredients with just a little bit of time into 3 different meals that are going to be healthy, are going to be filling, they're going to be fun. These are ingredients that you guys had all the time. Like these are ingredients that you eat at a Mexican restaurant, that you every time you go to the grocery store, they get your attention because of the colors. So we're going to make this fun. We're going to make this quick and easy and show you don't have to be a chef to eat healthy.
Yeah, we're going to accomplish, I think, a lot over the next hour, but it is not to say, we have not done really any prep in advance to get us ready here. And so the first thing I'm going to talk about here is I have this beautiful looking butternut squash that I'm going to start with. Chef, while I'm starting with that, I hear a little rustle with your microphone. Do you want to try pulling it to the outside of your lapel?
Sure.
I think folks will be able to hear you fine, but the rustling will be a little bit better. So, like I said, I have this beautiful butternut squash here. Let me zoom in on my cutting board so you can see what I'm working with here. butternut squash, when Chef was sending me over the menu for what we wanted to do today, felt like a really fun, interesting conclusion. You know, as we're moving into the fall, squash feels like a natural inclusion, right, Chef? I mean, is this sort of, would you say, in your opinion, are we sort of moving into the prime season
We
for
are.
stuff like squashes?
We
Um,
definitely are.
Perfect. So what other, the butternut squash, it's got this beautiful color on the inside. Anytime that we are looking at our fruits and our vegetables, dietitians especially, we love this expression, eat the rainbow, right? Which to us as healthcare providers means that when we get a bunch of different colors, that means we're going to get a really nice variety of vitamins and minerals. But Chef, let me know your opinion. Do you think if we get a variety of colors, what is that doing for like our flavor, right? And for, the visual look of the dish?
So ideally, we want to activate all the receptors in our tongue and mouth. That's going to make the whole experience much better. We want to add some sweetness, some bitterness, some spicy. Like we want to cover all those bases, and we for sure are going to have like a great meal in our hands. Having seasonal ingredients is great because it allows you to just try new things every couple months. It makes it less tedious, less repetitive. We don't want to be eating the same foods all the time. And I think that's one of the biggest issues, like uh, variety.
Absolutely.
People think that eating healthy means I need to eat chicken and rice every day. It's not. There's plenty of options. And again, you're going to learn about all of them today. It's going to be really fun, but I'll let you guys work on that butternut squash.
Yeah, I would say the chicken and rice. That's like the gym bro mentality, right? That in order to be healthy, you have to do a lot of sacrificing, which is not the case, right? And so when you're talking about, Chef, the variety of the different flavors that we can get here, our butternut squash, I think, is an excellent way to incorporate sweetness in a place that we otherwise wouldn't think of it. I think we traditionally think of sweetness as coming, from things like honey and maple syrup, but of course, our fruits as well. I think butternut squash is really one of those options where we can incorporate some sweetness from a vegetable, which is nice. So what you saw me do while we were chatting there is I took that butternut squash, I quartered it, I cut it in half lengthwise and widthwise. It makes it a little bit more of a manageable size. Then with just a large, sturdy spoon, I scooped out all those seeds from there. Think back to when you were a kid, maybe, and you were carving pumpkins and you scoop the seeds out of it like that. Same principle applies. You could certainly use those seeds, right? But we went ahead and got rid of them because what we're going to do is we're going to cube up our squash here and then we're going to roast it. Before we can do that, though, I am going to come in and peel it. Now, you can do this with a vegetable peeler or a knife. We're going to see if my veggie peeler is sturdy enough to do it. It might get the job done. I might cheat and come in with my knife as well. But I want to get this skin out of here because it's definitely pretty tough. And so, Chef, while I am peeling that, I might swing the camera over to you so we can talk a little bit about another ingredient that we're doing. Potentially a controversial ingredient. People have strong opinions about corn. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So yes, people definitely have their own conspiracy theories about corn. Corn is one of those things that can make any dish much better. Like again, it goes back to the same principle. We want to activate all the receptors in our mouth, and this is very versatile. You can make salty foods, you can make sweet foods, you can make spicy foods with it. Don't be afraid of corn.
Yeah, it's really like
Corn
it's like a foundational food.
It is
for a lot of people, and so I think it can be very disheartening for some people to hear or to think that they can't enjoy corn. But in actuality, corn is like pretty fibrous, and getting enough fiber in your diet's associated with a lower risk of a whole lot of diseases, including our colorectal diseases. So no reason that we can't be including corn in our fiber. And in fact, I would be urging us to include it.
And one of the kind of most important things for me to talk about today is there's a misconception that eating healthy means expensive. It means that you're going to have to work all day to make one little meal. It's not. At the grocery store, you will find something like this, the corn already cut. It's not necessary. You're paying a premium for things that are very easy for you to accomplish. Getting the whole corn will take you, and peeling it will take you probably a minute and a half more than just opening the package. So let's focus on having the whole piece of corn. What we're going to do today is we're going to reuse this corn in a couple different ways. So we are going to lay it on our wire rack. You don't have to use this at home. You can use any kind of tray. And what we're going to do is we're going to put our diced corn. We're going to have our full piece of corn here, and we're going to roast it. So corn is naturally sweet, the same thing that the butternut squash. What we're going to try to do with this is we're going to try to incorporate other flavors today. Like, for example, we have a little bit of tahini here. It's citrusy and spicy. We have honey, we have chipotle peppers, we have salt, pepper, we have garlic. What we want to do is every ingredient needs to have its own flavor. So we're going to start with the corn and we're going to keep it sweet. We're going to coat it with a little bit of oil. And then we're going to make sure it's completely coated. Once it's coated with the oil, we're going to go in with our salt and pepper. If you want to add some garlic powder, is fine. Corn is one of those items that, me personally, I like it kind of plain, because if I'm going to reuse it for multiple purposes, I don't want to just have like citrusy flavor on this one.
Yeah, right. You could season it later, depending on what you're throwing it into, right?
And then we're probably going to also cut it off the cob later to use it for a couple different purposes. Corn can last in your fridge for a couple days easily. So don't be afraid of corn, please. It's one of the best foods you can actually get. So I'm going to put this in the oven for probably about 10 to 15 minutes at 400 degrees. Right. All we want is we want to caramelize it. We want to bring up the natural sugars in the corn and just add a little bit of crunchy to our meals later.
And while we're at it, we're already throwing one thing in the oven. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to throw our butternut squash in there, which I just cubed up. There's a little bit of oil, salt, and pepper on there, and I'll get it onto a sheet pan. Now, I cut these to, more or less bite-sized pieces, maybe a little larger. Butternut squash, it's firm, it's hearty. That being said, in a hot oven, we'll be able to get it nice and fork tender and ready to go. Now, Chef had done everything on a wire rack. I'm just doing mine on a parchment-lined baking sheet. Again, like you said, Chef, you don't need that wire rack. It's nice if we have the tools. If you're someone who loves to cook and people are gifting you things, it's nice to be able to expand what you have, but you don't need all the fancy stuff to make it happen. And while I'm thinking about it, that corn on the wire rack, that's making me think of like, you could grill that corn as well, right? While we still have a couple nice weeks of weather, if you have access to a grill.
One of my favorite tricks for corn, and again, this could be like a personal thing. If you have a gas stove at home, it's really nice to just sprinkle a little bit of oil in the corn and roast it directly on the fire. Trust me, it's not gonna burn. You're gonna get a nice char. It's really quick and easy, and it's very different. Like, you get like a nice smokiness to it. You can just cut it off the cob and use it for dips, use it to just like a snack. You can do so many things with it. So
I love that
feel
idea.
free to explore. One of the things that I wanted to let everyone know is like, there's a reason why we chose to start with the butternut squash, for example. It's going to take a couple minutes for the butternut squash to caramelize and release all the starches, actually start cooking and get fork tender as we want it. So the whole point of this is to cook smart, being able to have some stuff happening in the background while you get the easy stuff going. We have vegetables that we're gonna cut a pico de gallo. We're gonna have some chicken that we need to sear now. We're gonna have a tofu alternative. So all these things are gonna be much faster. Start with the things that are gonna take the longest in the oven, and then just work your way down the list. By the time that's done, you're gonna have all your ingredients ready to go.
Yeah. We would call that working smarter, not harder, right?
Yeah.
So you mentioned we're going to do a couple different protein sources. Now, protein is one of those nutrients that I think we're currently in like the era where people think that they need a lot of protein in their diet, right? Again, it kind of comes back to that chicken and rice stereotype. Protein is very important for us. I don't want anyone to get the impression that we shouldn't be aiming to get, adequate protein. I think a lot of people overhype the importance of how much protein we need. And specifically when it comes to getting that protein from red meat. Getting too much red meat in the diet is also associated with increasing our risk of things like our colorectal diseases. And so we went for two alternative choices for our proteins. Do you want to tell us about our first one over there, Chef?
So to elaborate a little bit more on that, there's also protein hidden in a lot of other ingredients that most of us don't even consider. We are going to be actually giving you a couple of tips today on how to make a couple of replacements to make things a little bit more protein dense and actually healthier for you. Like we're using, for example, Greek yogurt as foundation for our sauces for later. But today, for main proteins, we chose chicken and we chose tofu. We are going to treat them. We're going to treat the tofu as a normal protein. We left it in a strainer. We press it a little bit to release the extra water. Every time we're going to see our protein, we want the protein to be as dry as possible. So I'm going to show you some of the chicken that I prepared.
Yeah, let me come over to your cutting board there, Chef. I think, so those are boneless, skinless chicken thighs, correct?
Yes. And we picked this ones for a specific reason. People tend to demonize darker meat and chicken because they think it's associated with higher fat content and it's not healthy for you. And it cannot be farther from truth.
Yeah.
Yes, it has a little bit more fat, but at the same time, it's also knowledgeable. And this dark meat is going to be more forgivable. Like you can cook this protein for a little bit longer. You don't have to be a chef. If you want to actually cook it and batch it and leave it in the fridge for a couple of days, it still retains some of the juices. Chicken breast would not do that. And it's very affordable. So this is one of the items that we wanted to feature for that reason.
Yeah, absolutely. And then over here on my cutting board, and we're killing some time here as we wait for our pans to finish heating up. I've got a block of tofu here. And so this is extra firm tofu. If you've seen tofu at the grocery store before, it comes from silken, which is a very high water content, very loose. That's the kind of thing where you could blend silken tofu and it will almost look like a mousse or a pudding consistency. Versus now all the way to the other end of the spectrum, we've got our extra firm tofu, which did not have a very high water content to begin with. As Chef said, we let that drain in the colander for a little bit. The nice thing about tofu is made of soybeans. So naturally a very lean protein source. Per ounce, a little bit less protein than something like a chicken or a beef. But that being said, also a significantly lower fat content. And tofu is naturally bland, which is a good thing because then we can really incorporate a lot of other flavorings, and it can be part of your dish without feeling like it's like stealing the show from other things. And so if we come over here to our stove top, we've got two pans heating up. We've got our large saute pan. Chef's going to use that for the chicken. And I've got a smaller one here that I'm going to use for my block of tofu. And these are probably getting pretty close to hot. What are we going to be, both proteins, Chef, how are we going to be seasoning them just in the pan? Before we do anything else, what are we doing?
So one of the most tedious parts of cooking at home is the cleanup after. So we're going to try to minimize that. We're going to try to make things as neat as possible as we go. And one of the most important things is when we're cooking in a stainless steel pan or anything similar, we want to limit the use of maybe honey sugars that can caramelize and stick to the pan.
Mm-hmm.
So what we're going to do today is we're going to keep the chicken with salt, pepper, and a little bit of oil. We're going to wait till the pan is hot enough, and we're going to get a nice sear on that chicken. While we're doing that, I'm going to be showing you how to make a mix marinade that we're going to use for the chicken and the tofu.
Yep.
We're going to share both. We're going to do the same thing for both. It's going to be based with honey, chipotle peppers, a little bit of lime juice. We're going to do a little bit of garlic, and it's just going to bring up all that sweetness and spiciness. Once the chicken is ready, we will coat it with that marinade, and it's going to go in the oven to finish in the oven so we can have room to keep going. Everything should be coming out of the oven at the same time as the butternut squash and the corn, so it'll make our prep easier.
All right. Well, I think let's go ahead. So we're going to use a little bit of, we're using olive oil in our pans here. Chef is putting a little bit of oil directly on the chicken. It will help with sticking a little bit. I like to do a little oil in the pan here. And immediately when your pan is hot enough, your oil should immediately kind of spread out. It won't stay in a little puddle in the middle. And the surface will go very quickly from sort of like a stable, like the calm surface of a lake to kind of having some ripples and shimmers into it. I'm doing the exact same seasoning that Chef was talking about for the chicken, for our tofu. I got this whole block here. Definitely an interesting way to cook our tofu. You notice how easily it was sort of gliding around in the pan there as I was placing it. Part of that is because we got rid of that water content, right? The water is sometimes what that moisture creates the sticking that we want to avoid with tofu. And so I've got that going there.
So
and then Chef, how's our chicken?
I'm getting the chicken ready. So what I did is simple salt, pepper, and a little bit of oil. Something that is really important is don't be afraid of salt and pepper. Things like tofu are gonna hold a lot of salt or pepper before they become too salty. It's a very bland protein, so don't be afraid of it. Keep trying. Don't be worried that you put a little bit too much salt. Keep in mind, we're also going to cut that after it's cooked. So in the middle of it, there's no salt or seasonings. So we want all that to kind of like seep through the edges.
Yeah, because in the case of a lot of these, I would call them like the accoutrements, right? The things that are going to go with our dish. We're relying on a lot of other flavorings besides salt. Salt is a fantastic flavor enhancer.
Yep.
Doesn't necessarily have a lot of flavor on its own. So in the case of, we can use it to bring out the natural flavor of the chicken, but then we can rely on other flavorings as we build our dish here. So I'm gonna get a couple of those chicken thighs searing there. Chef, one thing that I always try to tell folks when they are cooking in here in the teaching kitchen with us is once your meat or whatever you're searing in the pan, once it's down, don't touch it for a couple minutes, right? So why is that? Can you explain that to everybody?
There's a couple tips to that.
And I can take that pan out.
Don't touch it will be the first one. Just let the protein cook, and once it's ready, it will release itself from the pan. Now, the other thing that I would say is don't overcrowd your pan. If you put too much cold protein in the pan, you're gonna drop the temperature, and then you can come into issues like sticking and also like not cooking evenly. You're gonna have different hot spots. Take your time, let it do its thing. As you can see, the tofu, it's getting a nice crust around it. We can see it from the sides. The chicken is gonna do the same. It's gonna tell you when it's ready to be flipped.
So yeah, as Chef was saying, we're getting a little bit of a crust on the tofu here. I went to go in with tongs. It was actually almost a little too big for my tongue. So a spatula here is getting the job done for me. I mean, look at that. You would think I had just flipped over like a piece of fish or something, right? With how nice of a little golden crust we have on our tofu there. But yeah, just a nice,
really nice
tofu.
So what I'm going to do...
Chef, you came prepared today. I see you with the pair of chef tweezers over there.
I'm going to start preparing the marinade now while our chicken is going.
Yep.
All right. So the ingredients for the marinade is going to be a little bit of honey, salt and pepper. We have some chipotle peppers that what we did is we drained the sauce from them and we just chopped them up. This is one of those things that is personal preference. If you like spicy food, please feel free to put as much as you want, but I would advise you to start slowly, use mostly the juice at the beginning, and then just keep adding as you go. It's better to just add more than take out. I don't think you're going to be able to accomplish that.
We can always add more. It's hard to take flavoring away.
So,
yeah, go ahead.
What we're going to do again is just mix a little bit of each. Don't worry about measurements. Don't worry about putting too much or too little. Just try it. Keep tasting. And when you're happy with the results, you're good.
Well, in a lot of recipes, right, we see things like season to taste, which literally is going to mean you should taste your food. You should, as you are making it, before you serve it, right, give it a taste and make sure it works to your, your flavor preference. And again, be liberal with our seasonings, feel free, go crazy, right? But you can always add more. So don't feel like you have to be shy about that kind of stuff.
What I like to do with this one is add a couple squeezes of lime.
Fantastic.
Just adds a little bit of citrusy and helps break down the proteins.
And speaking of, I mean, we were talking before about the flavors on the tongue. Citrus and acid does so much for our taste buds to really kind of wake them up.
Notice that I haven't touched the chicken yet. We put it there. We've been talking. We've been doing other stuff, and we haven't even bothered looking at it.
Yep.
It's gonna be ready, and you'll find out. You'll see the edges of the chicken just starting to get like golden, and when you try to lift it, it's gonna let you do it. Right now, it's still stuck to the pan, so we're gonna let it do its thing there. I have a little bit of garlic powder, thyme, and cumin. Then I'm gonna add to this mix. And once we're happy with the consistency, we're good to go. We want something that will be able to pretty much coat on the chicken and the tofu. It doesn't have to be too thick. It doesn't have to be too runny. Just whenever you're happy with the results, just let it be and wait till it comes out of the oven. If you didn't like the way it came up, just try a different proportion next time and you'll be fine.
Fantastic. And so, yeah, as Chef was talking about, we've got the nice kind of caramelization crust forming on our chicken thighs there. It forms very quickly on my tofu here. And you'll notice I'm kind of rotating it around in the pan. The nice thing about tofu is that this block really holds its shape. So I can kind of balance it here and get it nice and seared on all sides. And in the case of both of our proteins here, once they are sufficiently seared, right, what we're going to do is we're going to finish cooking them in the oven. That is a fantastic tip, honestly, for most proteins. Chicken thighs and chicken breasts especially, where sometimes in the case of cooking it entirely in the pan might result in it drying out. But by finishing in the oven, it cleans up our counter space, of course. But then we can, we can get a little bit more guaranteed moisture retention, right? Because it's going to cook a little more evenly.
You also got to keep in mind that the oven is running, even if it's empty, even if it has 5 pans, just put it in the oven. Why do you want to have it in here where you have 15 different things happening at the same time?
Yeah.
Let it do its thing in the oven. Set up a timer. A timer is your best friend. Make sure you have one on your watch, your kitchen timer, but don't forget that you put stuff in the oven.
Yeah. Speaking of, there's about a minute left on our things in the oven. I had set that timer for about 15 minutes to start. I suspect they're probably going to need more time, but timed out actually perfectly for us to be just about ready to get these other things in the oven.
So what we're going to do, I have the marinade ready to go.
Sure.
Chicken still needs a few more minutes. It's a bigger pan, so it's obviously going to take more time than the small pan. What we're going to do in the meantime is just coat the tofu with our marinade.
Yeah. But again, that tofu is really bland, so it's going to pick up a lot of flavor from that.
We're just going to coat it.
Beautiful.
And another tip is going to be, you see the ring around the pan of caramelized sugars, and
we can lean it towards the camera so they can see, right, that ring of sort of browning that has occurred while we were cooking that tofu. That'll get left behind when you cook basically anything in a pan, right?
Yep. So for this instance, when it's a vegetarian protein, you can even do a splash of water right before you pop it in the oven. That's going to loosen up some of those proteins and just make a little bit of a sauce from it. And then just pop it right in the oven.
Yep. And Chef, while you are I can pull out those things from the oven onto my pan here. I might give the butternut squash just a little bit of a toss.
Yep.
It's looking lovely, starting to get some nice browning on it. And then we can see that chicken's ready.
Chicken still needs a couple more minutes.
Yeah, that's all right. Then while that is happening, what I'll do is I think I can start working on some of the other chopping that I need to do over here.
In the meantime, I'm going to throw this tofu right in the oven.
Perfect. Chicken will end up going right next to that in the oven. But let me come back over here. So we sort of have our veggie component, our corn and our butternut squash. We're going to have our proteins. But now we need some other things to accompany that. I've cooked up a nice pot of rice that is going to be our base for some of our meals. But I want some beans to go with that as well. beans are fantastic. They are economical. They're very affordable, even when we're buying them canned. They are loaded with fiber, which again, getting that fiber is associated with decreased risk of colon disease. But also I think they're incredibly versatile. They come in a lot of different shapes and sizes and flavors. So what we're gonna do is just in a pot on the stove, we're just gonna take a can of pinto beans, or in this case, 2 cans. We're gonna fancy them up a little bit. So I've got an onion here, which come in, and I'm gonna do a small dice on here. So for my onion, as always, I'm gonna cut in half through that root end so that it lays flat on my cutting board. And now I take off that top, which makes it very easy to then get a finger in and peel. And sometimes with an onion, you'll have to go one layer deeper than you might think you have to. The nice part is that onions are still, in terms of our ingredients at the grocery store, onions are still pretty affordable. So I don't feel horrible about having to give up a little bit of onion as we go there. Then from here, I'm going to cut with that root end away from me. I'm going to make a couple cuts towards that root. It is a small onion, so I only need to make a few cuts. And then I'm going to turn it so that that root is on the opposite side of where my knife is. And I'll come across and I'll get a nice small dice. And I'll do the same thing with my other half here. And then, Chef, I might bother you. Could you pass me a couple cloves of garlic that you've got over there? Fantastic. So garlic, again, a very versatile, I don't want to say underappreciated ingredient because I think most people know how great garlic is, but very versatile, lasts for a very long time in your pantry. Couple cloves of garlic, just crushed to get that skin off of there. I'm going to give these a couple chops, just so the pieces are a little bit more of a manageable size. And then what I'll do is I'll rest my knife off to the side with my other hand rested on top. I do that in my nice rocking motion through that pile and work to get these cloves of garlic pretty small. I, generally speaking, prefer my garlic to be a little bit smaller. Yes, that will mean that those pieces are maybe a little bit more susceptible to being burnt. But it also means that the flavor will blend a little bit better with our other ingredients versus the very large pieces of garlic, which will not burn as easily. It give you more of that pronounced raw garlic flavor. Chef, I just want to come back over to the cooktop there.
Yes.
We did flip our chicken thighs. They look fantastic.
Did flip the chicken thighs, and I want to show you. See the crust that we were talking about before?
Oh, gorgeous. Yeah.
So all that is going to become our sauce. So what I have here is I did a little bit of the marinade right on top. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to splash a little bit of chicken stock right at the bottom of the pan. And you're going to hear that beautiful sizzle.
All that steam coming off, right?
Oh,
From the
yeah.
liquid that's being introduced.
So you're going to start noticing that the liquid starts changing colors. And right after, what I'm going to do is just finish this in the oven. I'm going to throw this next to the tofu for about 15 minutes,
Perfect.
350 to 400 degrees. And we're going to let the sugars caramelize and give us like a nice flavor.
See, we should be able to
That corn
see
looks
that.
good.
Yeah, that corn is looking good. Well, Chef, we can pull that corn whenever
We'll
you
do
think
that.
it's ready. But in the meantime, turn our handles here so they all play nice.
Now
Beautiful.
I'll leave that corn there for another minute. And while we start getting ready for the next steps.
Yes, which I've got now this pot heating back up on the stove, which is a little bit of oil in there. What I'm going to do, very simple. I'm going to take, with that little bit of oil, I'm going to take what I would kind of call some of our aromatics, things that when you add them to the pan, they immediately start to smell really good, right? So in this case, our garlic and that onion that I chopped up, I'm going to get those cooked in the pan for a couple minutes. Once those are sufficiently cooked, I'm going to add my beans right to there. I'm going to add some salt and pepper. That's really it.
Yeah.
You could take it a step further. You could introduce some liquid and they would kind of be like stewed beans.
That's
but-
personal preference. Yeah.
But
Depending
for
on
what
you-
we're doing today, I think where we're at is good. So Chef, while I am working on that, do you want to talk a little bit about some of the sauces that we are
Yeah.
going to be making?
So we're going to have 2 sauces today because we're going to make 3 dishes in total. So our plan is that we're going to use the proteins to make a hot entree that we're gonna eat tonight, and then it will be more like a leftover repurpose of the same ingredients kind of thing. So we would do a power bowl. We're gonna use beans, we're gonna use grains, we're gonna use protein and lots of vegetables, and we're gonna do a wrap. So for the power bowl, we're gonna make a jalapeno salad with a jalapeno dressing with some cilantro, limes, garlic, and we're going to use Greek yogurt as a foundation for our sauce. Now, for the wrap, we're going to do something similar to the chipotle mayo that we were doing before. We're still going to use Greek yogurt for it, and we're going to just mix up a couple of our leftover ingredients so we can repurpose everything. So I'm going to start cutting these jalapenos. Depending on how spicy you like your food, feel free to keep the seeds or not. I am not a huge fan, so I like to take the seeds off. I don't think it's necessary to have that much heat.
And I feel the need to add that if you're gonna cut jalapenos, please make sure that you wash your hands very thoroughly afterwards, or wear gloves while you're doing it, because I personally have then touched my eyes afterwards, and that is not a fun situation to be in.
It's not.
Chip, while you are working on that, there was one question in the chat here. Someone asked that butternut squash is hard for them to cut up. So any tips for breaking it down?
Yes.
I have some, but please go ahead. You go first.
First tip, sometimes they sell it already peeled at the store.
That was going to be my
That's
tip.
the best tip I can give you.
Yeah.
Buy it already peeled.
Yeah.
Don't deal with the hassle. Same thing about the beans. Not everyone needs to just soak beans and use the dry ones or the expensive one. That can was what, couple dollars, 99 cents.
99 cents, I think, for a can of pinto beans.
Like the only way you're gonna make this possible and kind of like tolerable is if you make your life a little bit easier.
Yeah.
We're always busy, we're always on the go. We want to make our lives easier, not more complicated.
Yeah.
Buy the butternut squash already peeled.
I would say, and if you're really determined to try to get better at cutting it yourself, make sure that you have a thicker knife.
Yes.
Not something that is loose and flimsy. You want a knife blade that doesn't bend, something really sturdy, because that sturdier blade will make it a little bit easier to cut through. Chef, that already looks good, and you have not even mixed it up yet. So again, we use a low-fat Greek yogurt as the base. Excellent protein source, while still introducing minimal fats, and some very nice flavor builders in there as well. Cilantro, sometimes a divisive ingredient.
It is cilantro, but you can also do other things. Like you can use an avocado. Feel free to use an avocado, mash the avocado before you mix everything, and you have a delicious kind of like guacamole style dressing. Plenty of protein. It will last for a few days in the fridge, so you can use it for the whole week. I'm going to start with the cilantro here. Then another quick tip is make sure you're seasoning properly. When you're using things like Greek yogurt, you want to make sure you're adding salt, pepper, any kind of spice that you feel like you like at home. Oregano is great. Feel free to add it. I like thyme, cumin, and garlic.
Fantastic. Well, Chef, while you're mixing that up, I'm going to work on my sauce, which again, where the goal is to hopefully not have to open up a bunch of extra ingredients. So we're using honey. So we're going to add a little bit of honey to our yogurt here. Again, helps build out that depth of flavor, gives us some extra sweetness. Again, we also were already purchasing limes, so may as well add a squeeze of lime juice. I'm gonna go for the whole lime. I think it's gonna really help with our flavor here.
And you're pretty much hitting every single receptor in your mouth. You have the sweetness, the spiciness, you have the citrusy of the lime.
Exactly. And I'm going to steal a little bit of your chipotle peppers from before as well. Now, again, if you just want to use the juices, that's fine, but you could also certainly incorporate some of those chipotle peppers in the adobo sauce whole. And again, the goal of this is not to make this stuff feel unapproachable. So if you decide that the more realistic way for you to make a sauce like this is to throw everything into your blender or your food processor. You can absolutely do that. And so I'll just go ahead and start to give this a little whisk. Whereas Chef's is going to have those flecks of green throughout his sauce. Mine is going to turn a little bit more of like an orange color from that chipotle, which is going to be really nice.
Pulling out the corn right at the oven.
Yeah, let's take a look. Let me move the camera over so we can look at that corn. Not like has not become blackened in the oven, but if we notice there's those little brown specks all throughout, really going to help.
You're going to
bring out the natural flavor of that corn.
You're going to notice that some of the kernels are looking like little wrinkly. That means you're already done. Okay. Now it's a matter of preference. If you want to keep going, you like crispy corn, sure, go ahead. To me, I like it a little bit more tender and juicy. So what we're going to do is some of this corn we're going to get off the cob, and some of it we're just going to serve whole.
Perfect. And while I get some of that corn off the cob, Chef, I think we had one more sauce that we were going to make. You were going to make a pico de gallo, right?
Yes.
To kind of bring home not only some more flavor, but some more color. So let me bring the camera back over to you so that folks can see what you're working on, and I'll work on some corn over here.
So we're going to get our ingredients ready. I use red onion, 1 jalapeno, I think it's enough. We're going to do only 2 tomatoes. Cilantro is like the secret ingredient of a good pico de gallo. And then lime juice, salt, and sometimes I like to add a little bit of tahini, but that's kind of like a personal preference. So we're going to start with the tomatoes. What we're going to do is we're going to get a bowl ready, and we're going to just cut our tomatoes in the safest way we can. Make sure you find a flat surface. If the tomato has like a flat bottom, it's better. If it doesn't have it, what you can do is something like this. Just cut a piece and then just slice. Just make it safer on you. You don't have to go crazy with this. We don't have to do a specific shape. I mean, you can go in little cubes. Some people like bigger chunks of tomato. You have to explore what you like best.
And again, we go back to this expression that says eat the rainbow, which again, from a health perspective means that we're going to be getting a lot of different vitamins and minerals when we incorporate more color on our plate. So already looking here, I see browns and reds and purples, greens, yellows. I mean, we're really kind of hitting the whole color spectrum. I don't really know how we would have incorporated blue into here, but I think that we've got a really nice assortment of colors and flavors going on. This corn is coming off the cob really easily now that it's so nice and tender from having been in the oven. And I'm gonna leave a whole cob there and a few of those half cobs, I think, for you, Chef. And the only other thing that I have to chop up over here while Chef is working there is I just want to show you all how to cut up a little bit of romaine lettuce. Just great to know how to do that in case you are, in the habit of making salads for yourself. We're going to be incorporating some of this lettuce into our bowl and possibly our burrito as well. When I have my whole head of lettuce like this, I take that knife about 90% of the way to the end. I want to leave it attached, right? And then if you wanted to go even finer, you could do a quarter turn, make one more cut there, and then start at this top end here. Maybe get rid of these leaves right at the very end, or the tips of those leaves. But then we just come down the line here. We get these you can go as wide or as thick as you would like with these. But now when I pick this up, I have these very nice shreds of romaine lettuce ready to go. I had already washed this lettuce, but it is certainly also easier to cut the lettuce once it's already been shredded. So if you don't mind cleaning your cutting board in between, you could have chopped lettuce ready to go. I've found that, Chef, sometimes it can be easier. If you got a salad spinner at home, you can just leave the greens in that salad spinner. It helps prevent them from going soggy on us. And I'll come across here. Make sure we have plenty of lettuce available for assembling our bowls and everything else. We've got about 15 minutes left, so I think we'll be just about ready to put everything together for assembly.
Yep. Chicken should be out in a couple minutes. That
Yeah.
tofu must be ready at the same time.
The nice thing about tofu, does not need to reach any kind of safe internal temperature, unlike the chicken. So the cooking the tofu is really kind of like with a lot of the other things we're doing tonight. That's a matter of personal preference, right? For
Exactly.
how you want that tofu to come out of the oven. So let's see. I will have my components here ready to go for you, Chef. I will cut up a couple lime wedges for you if you want to use those for your plating. Okay. Beautiful. Great. All right. Chef, I'm going to come to bring the camera right back over to you just so they can see
Sure.
that beautiful looking pico
Pico de gallos right here, ready to go.
Nice. Again, beautiful combination of colors in there. And all right, let's bring us back out here. So again, to recap what we've just accomplished in 30 minutes. And yeah, it helps that the two of us were working together here. If you got a helper at home, put them to work. But independent of that, I mean, all of these individual components would come together very quickly. And a lot of this isn't stuff that you need to do all in one sitting. A yogurt sauce like this could be made, a couple days in advance.
Yep.
I would even argue that the flavor might be better tomorrow than it's going to be tonight, because the flavors will kind of blend and get to know each other a little bit. The only thing that we did not cook on camera here, because it's not that interesting to watch water boil, is a pot of brown rice here. Now we use brown rice because of the fiber content. So brown rice is a whole grain. Whole grains have some of that fiber, and as you'll continue to hear me say, that getting more fibers associated with lower risk of colorectal cancer. That being said, brown rice also takes 40 minutes to cook on the stove. So one thing that I was very happy to learn is that actually the quick cooking brown rice is, I wouldn't call it minute rice because it doesn't take a minute. It still probably takes 15 or 20 minutes. But that rice has the exact same fiber content, right? All that they've done, similar to like a quick cooking oat, is that they've cut the rice slightly different. They've maybe poked holes into it. Maybe they've par cooked the rice.
That's usually what it is.
But all of that is done so that then when you bring that rice home, it cooks a little quicker. Is it a little bit more expensive? Yes. But kind of like the butternut squash, you have to weigh the money versus the effort that you're willing to spend on it. If that's going to be the barrier to you getting more brown rice in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if you're busy, just because you're not going to be having the time to do the brown rice, you don't want to just throw everything away, throw everything off the board. Just use the rice that you can find, use the tools you have, and just manage your time. The more you get into the rhythm of things, it's going to get faster. And before you know it, you just created a new habit.
Yeah. I would even say that everything that we are doing tonight, if you are receptive to like even a few of these ideas, you don't have to do all of it, right? Because small steps towards, I'll use the word improvement. Any level of improvement is improvement.
It's improvement.
It's gonna do wonders for your health. So even if it's just making the yogurt sauces as opposed to buying something, a prepackaged sauce at the store, maybe it's the switching the protein, right? Maybe it's the brown rice, maybe it's incorporating the beans. Any of those changes on their own will have a really big impact.
Yes.
And then they kind of just build on each other as we go. So how is everything looking in the oven?
So we're almost ready to go. The butternut squash will be the last thing we're going to pull out.
Great.
Chicken and tofu are ready to go. So we are going to start plating our first dish.
Perfect. Which do you want to start us off with getting our kind of entree together? Or I can build our bowl, however you'd like to.
I can start getting the entree ready while you work on the bowl.
Absolutely. All right. So when we're saying entree, we're saying, is this something that you would make for a weeknight, right? Or maybe you're having company over or something, right? This is your sit down meal.
Exactly.
Perfect. So you're starting with rice.
Yeah, you can put it right here. We'll both share it real quick.
Alrighty. Again, it's our brown rice, which has been sitting for a little while, so it's plumped to itself a little bit.
So the point of all this is like, if you had a couple hours to spare and you're able to get ahead for your prep for the week, that's great. You don't have to do every single meal. You can do the foundation for all of them. And then during the week, we're still gonna have pico de gallo left. We're gonna have so much stuff left
Oh yeah.
that you can just come in and make a different sandwich.
Yeah, no
You're
reason.
good to go.
No reason you can't cook up a larger portion of rice, right? Especially rice lasts forever
Exactly.
in your pantry. So you may as well, if you have access and the ability to, you may as well cook a little bit extra, set yourself up for success a little bit later in the week. And so while Chef is building sort of our plated dish, what I'm doing is I'm taking some of these same ingredients and I'm turning them into, I don't know, call it like a burrito bowl, maybe just something that, I want a quick and easy lunch, something that I can transport, something that unlike going to Chipotle or wherever else I maybe can do takeout for lunch, this isn't going to run me an extra $20
Yep.
for the same ingredients that I
Yep.
had already prepared at home, right? That's the main difference, if nothing else. And so what I'm going to do is I'm kind of arranging everything in a circle because I think that's a really nice way to plate everything. So I've got some corn, I've got my rice. Oh, that chicken looks fantastic. Oh, our tofu as well.
Tofu looks really good.
I really like cooking the tofu in a block like that. I'd never done that before today. So something new for me to try at home as well.
Remember to temp your chicken if you have a thermometer at home. That'll be great. But couple clear signs are that the liquid running out of the chicken is clear. Then you can just cut it in half and make sure it's cooked through. We don't want to take any chances, but again, whatever tools you have, use them. You don't need a thermometer. You don't need anything. Just cut it in half and you'll be able to see if it's cooked or not.
Chicken already smells good. I'm really excited to use that. Chef, while you're cutting some of that up, I'm going to snag some of the pico, I think, for the bowl, just to kind of fill out my little kind of color wheel that I've built here for myself. Great. And then, oh, that chicken on top, lovely. And then while you're finishing that, Chef, let me cut up a couple pieces of chicken for you because we're going to use them in our third version of what we're using for all these ingredients. So let me grab a pair of tongs for myself. All righty. I see you're sneaking some extra garnishes on there. What have you incorporated there?
I just added a couple green onions and just some cilantro. Again, the fresh herbs are going to change the whole dish. We eat with our eyes. Like the first thing we're going to notice is how the plate looks. That's pretty much going to do 50% of the. It's going to have 50% of the influence if the dish was good or bad.
And so
I'm going to start cutting the tofu for you because we have another dish coming right after.
Fantastic. All righty. And so I've got, I'm going to just take up the last bit of this chicken here, cut it into some nice bite-sized pieces. The third thing that we're going to do, we've got our plated entree, we've got sort of our burrito bowl, but then we also have just an actual burrito, right? So we got a nice wrap ready to go for rolling everything up. And so I think the chicken is an excellent way to use, or a burrito is an excellent way to use up this chicken that otherwise we're maybe like, I don't really know what else to do, with a cooked chicken thigh rather than just eat it. We can have this diced chicken ready to go. And so I want to just zoom in here on the center cooktop here as we're plating everything up. Just so that y'all can see the beautiful colors that Chef put together there on plated dish number one. As I mentioned, I was sort of assembling everything for the burrito bowl in a little clockwise pattern here. Again, no need to spend $20 at a quick convenience restaurant like a Chipotle or a Sweet Greens. No need to do that. You can easily put something like that together yourself. It will be less expensive. I'd argue it's probably going to be healthier for us, right? And I really love how that tofu looks in the middle. It actually, Chef, it's kind of reminded me of like Thanksgiving dinner, right? If we had turkey sliced up, I mean, the tofu looks fantastic like that. Having some avocado on top there as well.
Remember, we still have some of the marinade, and
Oh,
it's
yeah.
totally fine to put on top. Tofu usually is pretty bland in the middle, so this is going to help you with that. And you can also do it for the chicken. It
Absolutely.
will just refresh the dish.
And I think I'm going to give a little drizzle of, let's see, I have the Chipotle honey one. I
Yeah.
might do it on here, but actually, you know what? I'm going to save the Chipotle honey one maybe for the burrito, and we can do our other sauce here, chef. So I'm going to snag your bowl there.
That
Spoon for myself. Give that a nice drizzle. And I've got some chopped chicken here ready to go for our burrito when we want to start assembling that. All righty. Chef, do you want me to microwave that burrito or the tortilla for a couple seconds?
I'm going to throw it right in the oven.
Perfect. And actually, while we're assembling here,
The
completely
last
forgot about
piece.
the butternut squash, which has gotten now nice and beautiful and caramelized in the oven there.
That's beautiful.
Which, you know what? I'm gonna throw it right into our bowl. Yeah. Couple pieces scattered throughout. I think again that nice pop of yellow color complements the corn, adds to some nice contrast. The butternut squash now nice and tender, but we're still going to provide some different texture from everything else, right? We got a lot of soft foods in our bowl here, right? The rice, beans, all very soft. The tofu is very soft. That being said, the butternut squash, despite now being, you know, fork tender, is still going to have some bite to it. It's going to really help make our dish a little bit more interesting. So let me get this butternut squash out of the way here. It could certainly go on that plated dish as well. Well, we've got our tortilla.
Yep. That's
Chef, I'm going to
last
zoom in
piece.
on you, not to put pressure on you, but I think I would love to see proper burrito rolling technique.
That's a lot of pressure.
So let me come over to you there. Chef, you would pop that the tortilla just in the oven for a couple seconds,
Yes,
just
it's
to go
It's a
ahead.
good habit to have. Again, these things tend to dry up a little bit, so pop them in the oven. They will get softer, more manageable. It might still break, but it will give you better chances.
Mhm.
Now, for this one, I want to go a different route than this. This has a lot of beans and carbs. I want to go a lighter route for this one.
Sure.
We're probably going to save it for like the next day, maybe a quick lunch. So we're going to do some lettuce, pico de gallo. We had some cucumbers. For this one, we have the sauce that Max made. This is going to be, again, a Greek yogurt base with chipotle and honey. We don't want to do a lot of sauce because, again, it's going to go through the wrap. Something that I like to do for this one is just add a little bit of cilantro. And then I'm going to come with the chicken. And, oh, I see you have some corn left. That would be great.
Yeah,
I'm gonna add some of
absolutely.
that.
Didn't want to hog it all to myself. I think we could throw some of that in there.
There you go.
Sneak a lime wedge onto the corner of my bowl over here.
So what we're going to do with this one is just take it from both sides, suck the edges in, and there you go.
If I had done that, the tortilla would have burst.
I'm just hiding the hole behind it. Like, you're fine. They just cannot see it.
And then I think there's a plate hiding over there in the corner
Perfect.
for you, Chef, if you want to bring that over to our middle here.
Now let me just stop this one real quick.
So we're going to get a cross section. Lovely. All right. Set these things out of the way. Come right back to the center.
There we go.
Look at that. This is gorgeous.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to eat this when we're done. And so again, quick, simple. I would describe this as being very plant forward, right? Not just vegetables, but the whole grains, the beans. We did a lot.
I would just
here.
describe it as fresh. Like,
As
you
fresh,
look at it and you're like, this is just fresh food. You would probably pay more than $20 to go to Chipotle and see them serving the food like this. So just with a little bit of imagination, get creative. Don't worry about it. It's just vegetables. You can combine them in a million different ways. But there you go. You have meals for pretty much 2 days.
I
And
would say more. If I got
a
leftovers,
couple
I could make-
leftovers here too.
Yeah. Fantastic. Yeah. So if y'all have questions, please throw them in the chat. We have a second or two here before we wrap up. Anna Michelle, if you want to hop on and say hello, no pressure, but I got a microphone for you over there. because we answered our butternut squash question. Just want to make sure nothing else has come through in our chat. Perfect. Oh, and then you know what? Actually, I might let our colorectal team answer this one because someone had a question about how many grams of fiber are recommended per day. So if you want to introduce yourselves and then answer the question.
Awesome. Well, hi, I'm Ann Manju, and I'm a colorectal surgeon at Yale. And I'm Michelle Hughes. I'm a gastroenterologist also at Yale. So thank you again for having us and for doing this. This looks amazing. And I echo you. I'm drooling over this. So. All right. So to answer your fiber question, for women 18 to 50, it's 25 grams of fiber a day, and over 50, 21 grams of fiber a day. And for men 18 to 50, it's 38 grams of fiber a day, and over 50, I believe it's 31 or 30 grams of fiber a day.
Which can seem like a lot, but you know, eat some vegetables throughout your day. The beans are like a cheat code to getting to that fiber intake, right? Because a small serving of beans has a couple grams of fiber in it. So we'll be good to go.
And apparently the wrap has like 100 too.
Yeah, the wrap, if you get one of those, like, if you can find one of the wraps that it'll say like kind of like carb balance or like carb smart, those ones have a lot of fiber per wrap. You can find ones that have like 20, some of those can have like 20 plus grams of fiber in there.
Awesome.
I don't know how they do it, but.
I have another hack for your chopped butternut squash.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Costco, frozen, in bulk, super cheap.
There you
Sell it at Target too. It's already pre-cubed, and then you can just spray it with some oil thawed and throw it in the oven and roast it. And it comes out really well.
And about that,
That's-
like, don't be afraid of frozen vegetables and fruit. Like, they are perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Yes.
Actually, sometimes it's better.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Let me just make sure. Doesn't look like any other questions came through, and we're just at 6:30. So thank you all so much for joining. I think I'll be sending out a recipe for these tomorrow, where I think what I want to do is I want to just list all the ingredients and kind of all the ways that you can throw them together, right? How did we do the chicken? How did we do the tofu? But then the different ways you can combine all those ingredients. So Anna Michelle, thank you so much for organizing tonight. Chef Ricardo, thank you very much for joining.
Thank you for having me. That was great. Thank you.
And yeah, hope you all have a fantastic evening.
Bye.